everybody! Live from the Xfinity Mobile Studio, this is the PHLY Eagles podcast presented by Bet365 and Ashley. I am Bo Wolf, joined by EJ Smith and Fran Duffy, who has prepared the snappy snaps, all the film snapshots of what you need to know from the game last night, a 10-7 victory over the Green Bay Packers. And no, the NFL doesn't allow us to show video. So get out of here. Stop complaining about it. This is what we have. We make it work because Fran is the best in the business. How you doing, Fran?
Look, when it comes to trying to abide, I know there are other shows that are, they'll use some video here and there. All I'll say is the NFL is coming for everybody. You're playing with fire if you're using film right now and monetizing it.
Wow.
The reality of the world we live in.
That's what happened to Tagliabue?
No.
Oh, come on.
Yeah,
Fred is saying he's gonna kill Bryce Harper, and I can't make a joke about Paulie Tags on 1 hour of sleep. Come on. EJ, how are you? He lived a great long life. We're okay.
I haven't been on a Loopy Tuesday in a while. So
yeah, I was about to say welcome to Loopy Tuesday.
This is as loopy as it gets, my friends. EJ, how are you?
I'm doing well. I got the cough syrup in the corner here, but I'm feeling better. So I'm excited to get into the film with Fran. Maybe Fran and I we discussed the film a little bit today. But without you. Yeah,
this is. I mean, I might leave. This is so offensive to me. You guys are allowed to text on the side, but not about the show.
It wasn't about the
show. It was about the film. It was about with the film.
You just said Fran's the best in the biz. Of course I'm going to text him.
You got to loop me in. How's my new mic sound?
It sounds good. Although you yelled into it, it was a lot.
Yeah. Getting used to it.
Yeah, it's good.
All right. Everybody, buckle in because it's time for the big deal presented by Cherry Hill Jeep. The big deal? I know people get Jeeps elsewhere. I just don't know why. Fran, let's talk about it. The defense, what a performance, giving up just 7 points against a talented Green Bay Packers offense. One scoring drive, and a big deal for the Eagles was the insertion into the lineup of Jaelan Phillips and also Nolan Smith and Brandon Graham. But really, let's focus on the big man, the new guy, Jaelan Phillips. What did you see once you were able to settle in with the snaps?
Yeah, really active, in the run game, in the pass game. He was constantly pestering Jordan Love throughout the course of the night. You saw him used on stunts. You saw him used on twists. You saw him win one-on-one. There was a play where he lined up inside, and he was used in that way. So it was, to me, like the utilization was cool. We'll get into some of the reasons why I'm particularly excited about it, just based off some of the things the Eagles have done in recent history. And then, all right, kind of projecting that forward with this group now that Nolan Smith is healthy and you have BG in the fold. It's the bones are there for something that could be very, very fun.
Okay, let's get into it. Let's get into those bones. Let's get it done inside the studio here, the Xfinity Mobile Studio. Fran, what do you got for us?
All right, so Lindsay, let's go to front one. So this is a long one. We got a lot of things going on here, but basically, I just kind of went sequentially, and these are all examples of plays where the Eagles, and I've talked about this, how they've gotten a little bit more multiple in their usage of various fronts and different alignments, and especially overloading the front. Where you have three guys over to one side. We know that they love using the linebackers blitzing from depth. So if you have that opposite an overloaded front, you're basically forcing a protection scheme, a quarterback, the center, to really kind of pick your poison. How do you want to match up against this? If you're going to just block with five, are you going to go big on big and say, all right, we're going to take the guard and he is going to block Nakobe Dean? So you have the left guard there, number 65, to the left of the circle there. He's got eyes on Nakobe Dean. Is he going to just block Nakobe Dean and then it's just four versus four the rest of the way? Or is that guard going to slide towards the circle where you've got the two defensive tackles located over on the offensive right side? You've got Jaelan Phillips over to that side. You slide that way. And that's the thing. Essentially, again, you're forcing the offense to think this through. It's not your just typical 4-down lineman. You're forcing them to have this communication before the snap every single play. Now, on this one, Lindsay, if you go to the next shot, on this play, The guard actually does stay just in case Nakobe Dean does blitz. Now, Nakobe doesn't blitz here, but just in case he does, that guard is there. He's got eyes on the second level. He's retreating now. So essentially, this becomes a double team on Nolan Smith because the linebacker doesn't come. Nolan Smith is lined up on the opposite side. But what does that mean? Well, you've got essentially a few one-on-ones over on the other side. And that's the beauty of this as well, is that if you've got Jalen Carter and Moro Ojimo, and you've got Nolan Smith, and you've got Jaelan Phillips now, and you start working good, and you're like, all right, I feel good about this group, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 deep. Well, now if you're lining up in a way that is going to dictate one-on-ones to the offense, you're counting on your guys to be able to win one-on-one. So that doesn't happen on this play. But again, it's just, the bones are there for something for me to get really excited about moving forward. If you go to another example here, Lindsay, and guys, I'll stop after this play just to catch my breath. We can kind of talk through it a little bit. If we go to the next one here, this was, I believe, on the ensuing drive. And this is another one where you have this tilted front. That's Jaelan Phillips. I'm always going to kind of point him out on the front here, where, again, he's lined up to the overloaded side. You have Jalix Hunt now this time on the opposite side here. Now, how is the offense going to protect? Are they going to blitz, or are they going to slide the protection in that way? Or are they going to say, all right, we're going to keep that guard on the other side? You'll notice that you have Cooper DeJean there in the middle. They're kind of, the Eagles are reacting to emotion here. So Jahad Campbell gets pulled away. So now they're like, all right, we feel good that it's going to be just a 4-man rush. So Lindsay, if you go to the next shot, you can see that they go full 4-man slide over in that direction. And so again, I think that it's not necessarily like, oh man, look at this play, look at this play, look at this play. Wow, look at all the great things that the Eagles are doing. It's more, I like that they're really trying out more of these fronts. I haven't charted it, but it feels like they're doing more and more of it as the season is going. And I think that what they're doing now is that they are going to force offenses to really have to go through their paces in terms of what the protection plan is going to be. And it's not just, hey, and we'll get into it, it's not just, hey, they line up with the same guys in the same spots all the time. Once you start mixing and matching, that just adds another layer of complexity to it as well.
And what's also interesting is there you saw on those 2 different snaps you showed us, 2 different linebackers, right? Nakobe Dean and Jahad Campbell, who they're continuing to mix and match, but both of them are different kinds of threats coming forward. And then, as I'm sure you're going to show us, you get into the other machinations of, Brandon Graham is involved and all the other different edge rushers who all have different styles.
Yep.
It is a lot to keep track of for Vic Fangio. I mean, obviously he's up to the task, but once you have all your pieces and you can figure out how to mix and match and deploy them differently, it is even more for the offense to then handle.
Yeah, no question. It's very similar to, look, we talk about this with some of the best defenses that the Eagles have faced this year. You talk about like the Brian Flores defense, and they give you a lot to think about on a weekly basis. We're not to that level yet, but I think that it does certainly present a lot of challenges to an offense, to a protection scheme, and to your point as well, when you've got Jahad Campbell and Nakobe Dean, but then also Zach Bond. Like all 3 of those guys can be used in these ways, and it's definitely it's a nice way to throw change-ups at the protection.
I remember like when they hired Sean Desai, like studying like the Vic Fangio, like some of the things that you can expect to see from a Fangio scheme, and I remember seeing fronts like this, and it's like been interesting, like Fran, to see like Vic Fangio sort of like generating pressure through the scheme this year, like whether it is like the creativity with the fronts or the sim pressures that we saw him use a lot more, earlier in the season. It seems like he's really like he will it to happen if it's not going to happen. And now, to be able to like you said, free up those one-on-one blocks, it's like really aligning. Well, I guess I would say like well aligned with the additions they made up front.
Yeah,
Fran, if you had to guess inside Vic's mind, who in particular he's really trying to free up with these alignments, who would you say?
I personally feel like it's probably Jalen Carter.
Right.
But that's the thing, is that now when you throw in Nolan and you throw in Jaelan Phillips, like now it's like, all right, you've got multiple guys that you kind of feel good about being able to win the one-on-ones. I always kind of go back to, when I think of like these overload looks and teams that have been really good at utilizing them in the past, I go back to like the Brandon Staley and Raheem Morris, those Rams teams with Aaron Donald. They would utilize these kinds of looks with Aaron Donald, where it's like, all right, well, sometimes he's going to be a part of that 3-man overload front. They're going to run different games and twists, and you've got to deal with that. Sometimes they're going to line him up as the far defensive end on that side. And if you don't like your matchup with Aaron Donald versus that defensive tackle, you have to slide to that side. You have to slide away from the 3-man game, because now you've got Aaron Donald. You want to make sure you double team Aaron Donald, but now you've got one-on-ones on the 3-versus-3 side, and you're running different stunts and twists, and you're going to get somebody free there. So I think when you have a great player, or, even if it's a really good player, that it's, I feel good, I want to get this guy one-on-ones, by lining up in this way, you can really open up a lot of different possibilities.
Were you surprised at all that it was Nolan Smith and Brandon Graham who ended up moving to the right side to make room for Jaelan Phillips to mostly focus on the left side?
I was a little bit, yeah. I thought that was one of the things. I think we talked about that in the pregame show yesterday. That I was kind of interested. All right, like how are they going to utilize Jaelan Phillips just in terms of the sides? Just because we had seen Nolan play on that side for the majority of last year. Now, his rookie year, he was mixed in at different spots, and at Georgia, he mixed in at different spots. But I thought that was interesting, certainly.
Yeah, I kind of read it as, one, you're asking the guy to adjust to a new defense. Mine is like let him stay on the side that he's natural with. And I also think of it as he's the new top dog there, right? Like he's the guy. And so you want your guy to be the most comfortable.
I think that's right. Yeah. And also, correct me if I'm wrong, Nolan, it's his right side. It's his right pec, right? So if you are...
This is what they did in training camp for a couple of days, where one shoulder was hurt, and so they moved him to the right side for that reason.
Yeah, so if you are a left defensive end, left outside linebacker trying to take on blocks with your inside shoulder and your inside arm, that's going to be your right arm. And so, it might be an easier transition for him lining up over on the defensive right.
All right, it is his left arm, by the way, Fran.
It is the left.
Yep.
Okay, so there we go. Throw it out the window.
All right, that'll do it for the big deal presented by Cherry Hill Jeep. But we continue on here, Fran, with looking at the front. Let's move on to the next.
Yeah. So again, these are all sequential. So Lindsay, let's go to front 5.
EJ, that means in order.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Yes. Thank you. So this is another example. This time it's what I would call a diamond front, a 5-man front where you bring a linebacker from the second level, and he's going to line up inside the formation, where it's not necessarily always lined up off the edge. That's Zach Bond circled, lining up over the right guard. You've got Jaelan Phillips lined up outside of him. Then you've got Jalen Carter, Ojimo, and Jalen Hunt. And again, you're doing all these different things. And I loved seeing this week 1 with Jaelan Phillips, because what do they do here on this one? Lindsay, if you go to the next shot, you've got a 2-man game. They're running a stunt with Zach Bond and Jaelan Phillips. Now that this ends up creating a pressure, but what I really like about this is that this isn't a blitz. This is still a 4-man rush. If you go to the next shot, Lindsay, you've got Jalen Hunt dropping out on the backside of this. You've got Ojimo essentially eating up a double team. You still have Jalen Carter one-on-one. So if you're trying to get pressure on Jordan Love, and we talked about that last week. Hey, his numbers and his efficiency all dropped big time this year when he was under pressure. That was still the case last night. He was terrible when he was pressured. Well, all right. Well, what are the best ways we can get pressure? Let's find ways to get Jalen Carter one-on-one. Right here, mission accomplished. Right now, you've got you have an exchange pressure. You've got a stunt. You have different ways that you can get to the ultimate goal here on just one play. Lindsay, if you go to the next shot, you can see that you're going to have Jaelan Phillips flashing across Love's face. Now, this was one of the few successful plays where Love was pressured, and he ended up dumping this off to Josh Jacobs. I thought that Cooper DeJean got a little nosy inside here on this play and lost leverage. So he dumped this off to Josh Jacobs. But again, I like the thought process of what the Eagles are doing here on this play to ultimately get home to Jordan Love. If you go to the next one, Lindsay, this is number 9. This is, again, a different combination where you've got, again, Jaelan Phillips lined up on the far left. This time, you've got Zach Bond on the far right. You've got Nolan Smith lined up over the right guard with the 2 defensive tackles lined up inside. So, all right, like if you're the offense, how do you want to protect? You set your protection call. Great. All right. Well, very late in the pre-snap phase, the Eagles make another adjustment. And Lindsay, if you go to the next shot, Nakobe Dean creeps up to the line of scrimmage. So now you're adding another layer very late in the pre-snap phase, a well-disguised pressure look here where, all right, now you've got to account for Nakobe Dean. Who's going to block him? And if you go to the next shot, you can see that Nolan Smith drops out. Jaelan Phillips drops out. It's a 4-man pressure. You've got Nakobe Dean blitzing inside, and he's able to get inside here. If you go to the next shot, he's actually able to get inside the guard and get Jordan Love off of his spot. And what I really love here from this play, this was a really disciplined rush from the entire group, because Lindsay, if you go to the next shot, you can see that both of the defensive linemen that are containing here on this play, Ojimo and Nolan Smith, as soon as they get to the far depth of the pocket, you can see Nakobe Dean is behind the quarterback now. He's behind Jordan Love. You're not getting anybody when you're behind the quarterback. Both of these guys do a great job, Ojimo and Nolan Smith, when they reach the depth of the pocket. And they understand typically what the tendencies are of an opposing quarterback. Hey, he likes to get this deep when he's in the shotgun, so we don't want to get any deeper than this. So they did a great job of making sure we get to the depth. Now they get square to Jordan Love. They're not giving him an escape path either way here. This ends up being a sack for Nolan Smith because he's able to retrace, and he does a nice job of being able to get home.
Sorry, I thought you were going to say something, EJ. That was good stuff.
There's look. I'll keep going here, Lindsay. I know you got to like catch up because there's a lot here on this one. Let's go to shot 15 here on the front. And again, it's like when you've got all these different.
It's a long night. It's going to be an even longer morning.
when you've got all the different possibilities here, this is another one where you've got this time Jaelan Phillips lined up inside. That's so the offensive
this was
guard,
the one snap. Okay.
Yeah, this was his one snap where he was lined up inside. So you've got Phillips lined up as the over the right guard. That's Ojimo lined up in Phillips' previous spot as the defensive end. And again, you're just they're all the different possibilities here in terms of, all right, like if Phillips is lined up inside, what does that mean? Are they going to run any kind of stunts? Are they going to run any kind of twists? What I didn't love about this one, if you go to the next shot, Lindsay, I would love if you had Nakobe Dean kind of bluffing blitz a little bit harder. If he's trying to disguise this, like he's playing from depth the entire way, so there was no threat to the guard here, right? So the guard never had to really think twice about, hey, I want to make sure that I am that we are respecting Nakobe Dean's ability to blitz here on this play. We talked about that last night. I didn't include it in this one, but Nakobe Dean, the sack fumble, where all right, well that was a play, that was a blitz that was designed solely to get Nakobe Dean one-on-one with the back, right? Like that was a win for the defense. So I think, again, when you're just finding different ways to be able to get home to the quarterback, impact the quarterback, it's a skeleton key for this defense.
I have this is not precisely related to those snaps, but it's just a usage question. We haven't really checked in on like the breakout year for Jordan Davis that we saw in the first quarter of the season. And it coincides with the emergence of Moro Ojimo, EJ. But Jordan Davis is really no longer a part of like the third down package. He took one snap yesterday, pass rushing on third down, which was his fewest of the season. Generally it was more in like the 6-7 range earlier in the season. Do you view that as just an Ojimo thing that he's leaped past him? Can we borrow a couple Jalen Carter snaps, or do you see something with Jordan Davis that has dissipated, which is, to be fair, something we have seen from him in the past, where he has had these pops and then kind of fizzled a little bit?
I don't think that he's fizzled. I think that it's more just a like.
This is an embarrassment of riches.
I don't think you want to take Ojimo off the field. You don't want to take Harder off the field. There was, you mentioned there was one third down snap yesterday. There were a couple plays where he was able to get penetration and push the guy into the back, push the blocker into the backfield. He had a couple of really nice reps in the run game yesterday. So I don't think that it's necessarily been all like, Jordan Davis is falling off. Now, is it popping as much? No, but from a pass game standpoint, I would say that his value is is always limited. I think it's more, hey, like we're seeing him be one of the better run defenders at the position in terms of being like that pure like run first nose tackle. Like from what I haven't watched, I don't watch every single team every single week, but from what I've seen, like he has developed into one of those guys where it's he is one of the better pure like run stuffing nose tackle types in the NFL.
And yet he was not on the field on that 4th and 1, although I think that's because the Packers didn't want them to sub.
Yes, they want to hurry up. Yep.
Yeah, I feel like he just doesn't have like the pass rush upside, especially with like you see Moro Ojimo and Jalen Carter, like the versatility that they have to play other spots. Like it's like, do you want to have like the one-dimensional nose tackle out there, especially if he's not like Dexter Lawrence? He's not going to be consistently winning. So I just remember like the one pass rush opportunity I like keyed in on him. It's like he kind of has like his like normal like he pushes the pocket 2 or 3 yards, and that's about what you can expect from him.
All right, time to take a quick break to hear from some sponsors, a little bit more discussion of the defensive line on the other side, and more from what was the best performance of the season for Vic Fangio's squad. It's never ordinary at Bet365, and you can see for yourself with Tip-Off Tuesdays, where you place a qualifying same-game parlay bet with the Safety Net Bet feature on Tuesday's NBA games and get up to $10 in bonus bets if the bet loses. Terms and conditions apply. Download the app and use code PHLY when you sign up. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. And remember that new customers now get $300 in bonus bets when you bet $5 win or lose. Just sign up. Use the code PHLY365, deposit $10, and place a bet for $5 to get $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins or loses. Bonus bets can be used on the spread, totals, player props, futures, and more. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 or older and physically located in Pennsylvania. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
We'll now hear from our friends over at Crooked Tea, because everybody's got their favorite hard tea, but have you ever turned the can to read what's in it? Because you can't, because they don't tell you. And while they hide what's inside, Crooked Tea brags about what's inside their can. Crooked Tea brews real USDA organic tea for real flavor with zero sugar. No fake junk hiding behind the label. What you see is what you drink. So next time you're in the store, flip that can around. And if you can't find the ingredients, just put it back on the shelf. Then grab a Crooked Tea. Zero sugar, real tea, fully transparent. You know it, Philly. Real recognizes real. So why drink the fake stuff? Crooked Tea. The only thing better is a strip sack in the Super Bowl. Visit crookedtea.com to find a store near you.
All right, back on the PHLY Eagles podcast. What do you have next for us, Mr. Duffman?
Let's get into, you know what, honestly, like I feel like I've made my point on the front stuff. I had one extra play, but it's kind of more of the same.
Okay.
Jalen Carter getting free. Let's have the linebacker conversation.
So, seemed like, at least to start this game, they were going 2 series at a time. N'Kobe Dean gets the start. Jihad Campbell mixes in a little bit on the edge, and then 2 series for Jihad Campbell. Towards the end of the game, it was N'Kobe. Like, with the game on the line, they wanted N'Kobe on the field. What do you make of it all, Fran? It is a complicated situation, and it's telling us a lot. But it's hard for me to really disagree, even if in my heart of hearts I would want the first round pick to be on the field.
So basically, this one was actually very easy to track because Jihad Campbell didn't get hurt in this game. He got dinged up against the Giants 2 weeks ago, so it was a little bit harder to kind of parse it out. This one was very easy. They went 2 drives at a time. So it was 2 drives. Then N'Kobe gets to start nickel. He starts the fifth. So every time they played nickel the first 2 drives, N'Kobe was in there. Every time they played nickel the second 2 drives, it was Jihad, and then they went back and forth in that way. Whenever they played base, Jihad Campbell came down and played outside linebacker, and N'Kobe came on the field. And so that was basically the role. All right, Jihad Campbell, you're going to be our backup weak side linebacker in nickel, and you're going to rotate in, and then you are going to be a starting outside linebacker when we go to our base defense. I don't know if that's like the best. Because here's the thing. Last night they played against the Packers, who are have been a multiple tight end offense throughout most of the year. But obviously we know they lost Tucker Kraft, and so Kraft gave them that ability to be a really dominant, like 2-way, like a equal run pass opportunity team when they line up in multiple tight end sets. Last night they really wanted to assert themselves on the ground, and they played. I think I counted it was 12 snaps of multiple tight end sets. It was actually a pretty low number for them, and they only threw the ball 1 time out of those looks. They ran it every other time. So when I look at what the usage for Jihad Campbell, and I say, all right, like he's going to play outside linebacker in their base defense. If we think of the times where, hey, they line up in base and you've got essentially 5 defensive linemen and you're still dropping Jalen Hunt in cover. Jalen Hunt gets that pick 6 because he's an outside linebacker in base dropping against 12 personnel. Jihad Campbell does that, and he could do that great. But when you play against a team like Green Bay, where they're going to line up in 12 personnel and they're going to try and run the football, I think it's a little bit of a different story. And so I grabbed a couple of clips where you are looking at Jihad Campbell lined up off the edge. And I don't want to say you're starting at ground zero, but it's essentially like he has to like relearn some things because he's been working the entire season so far, his entire NFL career, seeing things from depth and reading the triangle from depth. This is a position he's played now for the last couple of years. He started as an outside linebacker for Nick Saban at Alabama, but made that transition to middle linebacker. And so now he's got to have to relearn. You're seeing the game from a new angle. So being able to do that now in the NFL with NFL speed, it's a whole different animal. So Lindsay, if you go to Edge 1, This was the first snap of base defense for the Eagles in this game. And again, you've got multiple tight ends on the field for Green Bay. You see Jahad Campbell lined up as right outside linebacker. And basically, the Green Bay Packers are running a counter run play right at him. And so if we go to the next shot, Lindsay, you're going to see that there's a kickout block coming from an offensive lineman coming right in his direction. And we saw so many great examples of this last year where how fast Nolan Smith would violently explode down the line of scrimmage and just meet that blocker close to the formation, as close to the middle of the field as possible, and really squeeze that lane for the running back. Well, you had a little bit of misdirection involved here. So Jahad Campbell's got to read one extra step. He's a little bit slow to see where this run's going to hit. And if you go to the next shot, you can see he meets the pulling guard, that kick out block, closer to the numbers than to the hash mark, right? So you've got a wider lane now for that running back, for Josh Jacobs, to be able to hit this inside. If we go to the next shot, this is a play. I believe this was the next series. If not, it was the series after. So it's, again, base defense out in the field, multiple tight end sets. You've got Jahad Campbell reading things down as a down, on the ball linebacker. And if we go to the next shot, you're going to see that this is going to be basically a pin pull type of situation where you're going to have a wide receiver trying to pin that block Jahad Campbell. But Jahad's just, he doesn't recognize this block's coming, so he doesn't, the attention paid to this block is not what it should be. He's getting blocked by a smaller body here on this play. It's going to be a perimeter run play, and he gets blocked by a wide receiver. And if you go to the next shot, you can see like there's the crease for Josh Jacobs, and he's into the open field. And so I think that, I'm not saying that Campbell can't do this, but I do think that it's like not an ideal spot for him right now, and he's definitely going to be learning on the job. Now, are we going to continue to see this as Nolan Smith is healthy? My guess is probably not. And so how does that impact Jahad Campbell snaps? Is he going to still play in a rotation in that spot? I don't know. It's tough. But the other hard part about it is that Nakobe Dean played awesome last night. Like he did a great job playing downhill against the run. He's seeing things as fast as he's ever seen them. But it's tough, man, because even like Campbell last night when he was playing in nickel, he had a couple of really good plays against the run. Like he did a really good job, and I want to see him continue to grow and get those mental reps. It's tough though.
So you're more imaginative than at least me, Fran. I'll leave Bo out of this one. Like, what would you want it to look like? Like for me, it seems like there's no way to have all three of them on the field and let each of them do what they do best. So like, I guess like what's like if Vic Fangio called you up, he's like, man, Howie's really on me about playing Jahad Campbell. Like, how do I do it? What would your answer be?
I think the way I would probably do it is that when we play base, Nakobe's out there. And when we play nickel, Jahad's out there. I think that's the way I would do it. And that's probably like in some games, that's going to be like a 4-to-1 snap share, maybe even 5-to-1 snap share. And in some games like last night, that might be more of like it might be a little bit closer to 50-50 in some games. Like if you play Sean McVay, you play, the 49ers, like that means it's going to be a lot of Nakobe. And when it's on games when it's not, then you're going to see a lot less.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like an underutilization of Nakobe Dean in that scenario, but I'm sort of with you just because like we did see Jahad Campbell's like ceiling. We saw the potential that he has, and it's like it's not like he's playing bad. It's just like Nakobe's playing really well. I don't know. Like you said, it is tough.
I'm sort of going back and forth on this. I actually think they're doing a really good job here, and it is not a good problem to have, but it is an interesting problem to have.
It is, yes, it is,
and it is a true luxury problem to have.
Yeah,
because there are not a lot of teams that can afford to have a first-round pick who is good enough to be on the field, and yet you can use like on-field time to develop him in a way. And it just in the way that I think philosophically would like Jahad Campbell to be on the field to get these reps in service of him being better at the end of the season and better at the end, in the middle part of his career. Maybe these reps on the edge are going to help him and allow him to be eventually more of the like Zach Bond clone whenever it is that he can do it all. And like, yeah, I could argue, okay, maybe if you're going to have all three on the field and base and you really think it's going to be run, maybe Zach Bond should be the guy on the edge and Jahad and Nakobe can be the people in the middle. There are lots of different ways to use it. And yeah, maybe when Nolan's healthier. You're going to take some of those reps away from him. But in search of wanting to continue developing the player while keeping Nakobe Dean on the field, who has been really good and better than any reasonable expectation could have been given the surgery that he had.
Yep.
I kind of think they're doing well with this, because it would be so much worse if we have seen situations in the past where it's like, I'm just going to have the guy on the field who's the veteran, and player development be damned by a coach. And they're finding a way to sort of do both right now, even if Jihad being on the edge in the situations you're showing us, Fran, is not ideal for the defense right now. They are a little bit having their cake and eating it too.
But don't you feel like Jihad Campbell's like earned it? It's not like player development for like charity's sake. It's not like, oh well, we just
that's exactly right. He's earned the chance to be on the field, and they are finding a way to get him on the field at the expense of probably who is the better player right now, even though they both have different strengths.
Yeah, and that's what it's
really complicated. This is like,
it is.
This is a fascinating situation.
It is, especially given the fact that Nakobe's going into a contract or is in a contract year, right? Like, and so, there's lots of arguments that you can make in either way. I will say too, going back to what I talked about with like the front multiplicity and stuff like that, like I like Jihad Campbell's value in those kinds of scenarios more than Nakobe. Like, I think Nakobe can be like he's a good blitzer. Like he's a good blitzer inside, but he's not the same type of blitzer from if he's on the line of scrimmage, he's not as explosive. He's not as big. He's not as strong. He is more like, I'm going to time this really well from depth and hit this at full speed. And I'm going to go a million miles an hour, and really maximize everything I've got. So I think that with Campbell, like, he's got more physical tools, in his body. And so that he's got a little bit more value that he can bring in that scenario too.
Is there a world where like Nakobe Dean plays well enough this season where the Eagles re-sign him in the offseason because it's like he's too good a player to just let him walk?
There's no way. I can't imagine a way they keep him.
I don't know.
The
other thing that I think we have to say is that resource allocation wise, it feels like that would be insane. But yeah, you talk to people in the building, like, when he's on the field, Nakobe is the leader of the defense, and there are. It's not just that he sees what his job is quickly. Like, there are people who say that, like, he makes everybody else quicker on the defense because he's seeing it so well. I think it is probably impossible to really pay him, but I don't know. It's not the craziest thing in the world.
Then they shouldn't have drafted Jihad if that's the case. If he was like that vital, and it was like, hey, like, this is a guy that we can't live without, then you can't pay Bond what you pay Bond, and then draft Jihad Campbell in the first round. Like, that's tough to justify.
I think that's true, but I also think we can't fault them in the moment
for not knowing what he'd look like when he come back.
For recognizing that Nakobe is way better right now than they thought he was going to be.
But if he's like that guy where like, oh, we're going to re-sign him, like, I don't know. I think the moment you draft Jihad Campbell, you are saying goodbye to giving significant money to Nakobe Dean.
And by the way, I also, if we're just thinking about the long-term planning of it, it's not just that they drafted Jihad Campbell. It's that they tried to trade up to like 22 to draft Jihad Campbell. Right. It was not just like, oh, we can't afford to pass on this guy because he's that high at the top of our board. It was like they went to go get him.
Yeah. If knock on wood, I'm saying this out loud. Like, if it was Zach Bond that had that injury, right, and it was like, oh well, like we're going to pay Zach Bond to keep him here because you feel like you're essentially like doubling down. It's like, we feel this strongly that this guy is going to come back, and so like if you felt that strongly about Nakobe, then to me, like, you don't make that Campbell selection. It's tough. It's a shame because Nakobe's been awesome, and it's been so awesome. It's been great to be able to see him bounce back the way that he has, but I just don't see how they're able to work around that.
All right. Good discussion. Take a quick break, hear from some sponsors, and I believe we will move on to the offense on the other side of the break. Whether you need snapbacks, truckers, fitteds, beanies, or tees, Branded Bills has you covered with performance and style. If you're looking for some gear to make your brand stand apart from the crowd, Branded Bills has you covered with the best custom headwear. Start your order, and their dedicated team will help you create the exact custom apparel you need. They have a partnership with Penn State as a part of the campus collection. So go on and head over to brandedbills.com and use code BBPHLY for 15% off your first order. That's brandedbills.com, code BBPHLY.
So while I was hanging out in this frozen tundra, in Green Bay, Matt LaFleur invites me over his house. He's pumped to watch football on a Saturday, and I go over to watch football, and his setup is a total mess. Lagging, buffering, and switching between apps trying to find the game. He claimed he was a big fan, but I feel like I had been fan-fished. If you call yourself a football fan, you have to have Xfinity. It's the ultimate sports destination. I can find the best games and my favorite teams all in one place, and the way that I watch is next level. It's the perfect fan flex. I've got all the action right in my living room, plus Xfinity's best picture and sound with enhanced 4K, so clear it feels like I'm in the stadium. Sometimes I've got 4 games going all at once because why not? On top of that, I get real-time notifications and live stats right on my TV. It's the best seat in the house every time. Next game day, make sure that big fan isn't a big fail. Learn more at Xfinity.com. Xfinity, imagine that. Restrictions apply. Multi-view requires Xfinity 4K capable TV box.
All right, back on the PHLY Eagles podcast. Fran, well, you know what? Before we flip to the defense, before we flip to the offense, I am curious about Jordan Love looks so flummoxed in terms of the coverages the Eagles were playing on the back end. Did you see Vic doing anything curious, or was it just the case of sort of the rush getting into his head?
Yeah, I think that he never really looked settled. I do think that the rush had something to do with that. They didn't do anything like, oh my God, look at all the different things they did from this cool funky coverage, or they did what they do, right? I think they played some cover 6, they played some cover 3, they played some man coverage at times. Like, they mixed things up. They weren't predictable, and so they just kind of kept Jordan Love guessing. And I think that ultimately was like my big takeaway from watching. I think that Quinyon Mitchell had an awesome game. I'll probably post a clip of that, just showing a few of the reps from him. But we know that this receiving core was decimated from Green Bay, and so they're taking Bo Melton and moving him from corner and putting him back at receiver just because they're down bodies. But I think when you look at what their plan was from a coverage standpoint, it was, we're going to do what we do, we're going to out execute them from that standpoint, and we're going to try and let this rush get home.
That Quinyon PBU on the crossing route, I mean, that was awesome. That is like just an unreal play.
Yeah, he had a couple like away from the throw too, where it was like there was one like a double move. I think it was against Christian Watson early in the game, where I'm like, man, like he's so good.
Yeah.
Imagine having questions about Quinyon Mitchell.
But so we've always been on the right side of history on Quinyon Mitchell.
You're lying to the audience. It's beneath both of us. How about Adore?
He looked like Adore. I think that he's.
Well, I mean, I think we were all surprised that he was not targeted more. So was it the case that like he should have been targeted more?
There were a few where I was like, yeah, like they're lucky that he wasn't. There was, I'm trying to remember. There was the one play. It was one of the plays in the front that I talked about earlier, where the pressure was able to impact Jordan Love early. Adore was beaten downfield on a double move. Then Love was going to go that way until the pressure was able to get him off his spot. So there were a couple where the pressure kind of saved him. There were a few where it was like, yeah, like you could tell like this is a guy that's an older player coming off injury. The sooner that they can get that rectified and figure out and who knows, like maybe this is the plan moving forward. That it is going to be Adore and Michael Carter's a reserve. Yeah, that was an area that Green Bay could have attacked and did not take advantage of last night.
Do you think that like Nick Sirianni did like some kind of like shady like deal with some kind of like, I don't know, mythical figure where like, oh, we'll only throw to AJ Brown 3 times if it means that Adore Jackson can only be targeted 3 times in the game? Like, is there some kind of voodoo going on right now? Could that explain some of the things that we're about to discuss about AJ Brown?
Well, EJ, speaking of shady deals, it's time for The Future is Bright by Shady Rays. And Fran, if you have to, lie to us, but tell us why you think the future might be bright for the Eagles offense.
No, I mean, look, it was a very frustrating watch. It was one of those things where, like, when I'm watching it, I think I was like 20 plays in, and I actually texted Daniz, and I know, like, because it's Tuesday, so now his week is all thrown off. We know his routine, right? So he's not gonna be able to get to the film till like late tonight. I was like, you're gonna be angry watching this film, just because I know the things that get under Daniz's skin. Look, the AJ Brown stuff. I mean, he had 2 targets in the first 2 drives, and then was barely seen the rest of the night.
Wild.
Why?
No, I said wild.
Oh,
But
wild. Yeah, I thought you said
why
why.
also.
I mean,
But also why? Yeah.
yeah, but also why.
And how?
Yeah, look, there were one thing that definitely stood out. Green Bay, one of their plans coming in from a defensive game plan standpoint was that they were going to play a decent amount of cover 6, where they were going to have cover 2 to the boundary. This is a coverage the Eagles play a lot, where you're going to have cover 2 to one side of the field, cover 4 to the other, quarters coverage to the other side. So it's a combo coverage, and it's meant to, like, provide help to one side of the field over the other. And one of the things that Green Bay did often was that, and it really popped up on it, because the Eagles didn't have a ton of, like, pure drop back, like Jalen Hurts is in the shotgun, and because you had the RPOs, you had plenty of under center play action, move the pocket, and that kind of clouds coverage looks, and kind of makes it a little bit difficult, cuts the field in half. But in terms of, like, pure drop back, one of the things that we saw a lot was that they played this cover 6, where they played cover 2 to the boundary side. So you had a corner underneath in the flat, and then you had a safety over the top. It just so happened that AJ Brown lined up to the boundary on, like, all of these dropbacks. And so you can sit back and you can look and be like, oh, they've got a safety shaded over to AJ Brown's side. Now, they went to the locker room at halftime, and then they came back, and it's like, all right, let's what's our plan to attack this? And they ran a bunch of cover 2 beaters to the boundary. You had the Dallas Goedert 22-yarder. They ran that play down the seam to Calcaterra where Hurts overthrew it. But Lindsay, if you go to cover 6-1, you're going to see that, again, like, this was a very common theme throughout the first half of the game, first 3 quarters of the game, where Jalen Hurts would drop back, and all right, there's a safety shaded over to AJ Brown's side. This is one drop back. Lindsay, if you go to the next one, this is actually a 3-play sequence where Jalen Hurts drops back and AJ Brown. This one is a double move. He's running like an out and up, and he's running it directly into the safety. Let's go to the next one. Very next drop back. Again, he's running this to the boundary side, and there's a safety shaded over that way. And then one more just for good measure, where he's running it. And again, you've got AJ Brown working up the middle of the field, working down the numbers here, but there's a safety right there. Now, some people are going to look at that and say, oh, they were constantly shading towards AJ Brown's side. Here's what I'll say. There is no perfect coverage. There is no, like, skeleton key, like, oh, this is the easy button that we're going to take this guy away. If you want to attack a certain coverage, there are routes to attack. The Packers ran a great cover 6 beater on that final drive after the AJ Brown incompletion down the field to Christian Watson. It was a great way to attack cover 6 and say, like, hey, we're going to try and get a speed receiver open down the field. There are ways to attack every single coverage concept. You say, like, that? Oh, if the Eagles wanted to get AJ Brown open and say, like, we're gonna find ways where we are going to get him the ball, there are ways you can do it. Now, does everybody want to do it? Like, that's the question. Like, does Jalen Hurts want to do that? Is it at the top of the pecking order for the coaching staff? Like, I don't know. I don't know what the mindset is. It might not be, and it's just like, hey, like, AJ, this is the way we're going to play. Like, kind of deal with it. But it's a situation that's, I don't know if it's going to get a lot better.
The future is dim because you're wearing your Shady Rays. Thank you, Shady Rays. Let's take a quick break to hear from some sponsors. We'll talk about this more on the other side. When the weather turns chilly, and boy, is it chilly today, the last thing you need is a home project piling up. Ugh. Ace Hardware Home Services brings trusted local pros right to your door to help you get your home ready for the colder months. From heating tune-ups and plumbing fixes to generators and emergency repairs, their experts handle it all. No guesswork, no stress. Just a local pro to get the job done right. Satisfaction, guaranteed. Find the help you need for your next home project at acehardwarehomeservices.com.
Next, we want to thank you for being a part of the PHLY community. We're always looking to improve our shows and better understand how you listen and what you value most. That's why we've launched a quick survey. Your feedback helps us shape the content you love and make it even better. It only takes a few minutes, but it makes a big impact. Take a moment, head to allphly/survey, and let your voice be heard. Respondents have a chance to win a $100 Amazon gift card. Again, we appreciate you all for listening.
All right, back on the PHLY Eagles podcast. I guess let's stick with the passing game. What are you smiling at, Fran?
It's better if we don't talk about it. Nick Sirianni got an endorsement from somebody that in terms of who could be who could be a great president from being an NFL coach.
Oh God!
I just saw that. We don't need to dive in.
I know. I see this too. It's literally at the top of my feed. Oh no.
All right, so, well, you know what? Then let's talk about it. What do you think happened at the end of the game on 4th down?
So, correct me if I'm wrong. Now, I didn't see video of the interview, but I saw it. So, this could be completely made up. I believe it was Devontae Smith said afterwards, it's hey, whatever 1 and 11 want to do. So it kind of insinuated that those guys basically drew the play up. Is that fair?
So yeah, I trust 1 and 11 is
right.
essentially what he said. Yeah,
and so I think that's what happened. I don't know that was necessarily called in from the sideline. That said, there were some things from that final, from honestly the last 2 drives that just kind of left me scratching my head in terms of what the decision making was there. Before that 4th down play, the incompletion. They had the 3rd and 7. It was a 3rd and 7, where they come out and we're gonna run the ball. We're gonna try and eat up clock. And this is a little thing, but it's they have Cam Latu. I mean, this is honestly, you want to go back to the text messages from me and EJ from earlier in the day. The first one, Bo, was him sending me a couple clips of Cam Latu doing a serviceable job as a lead blocker, as a fullback. And I basically where we landed is that he is the Paul Turner, Alex Singleton of fullbacks, and lead blockers on the move.
Alex Singleton, come on.
Offense. What's that?
Don't throw Alex Singleton under the bus. That's worse than the Tagliabue thing.
No, it's not. He's fine. He's good.
He's good. Yeah.
Come on.
I mean, honestly, it's not shade at Alex Singleton. We're saying he was solid, but he's not elite.
When I told him, I was look, I'll send you what a good dominant point of attack fullback looks like in today's NFL. Latu is doing just fine in that role. Like he said, it's not someone where got to get him more snaps. They
do. They need to get him on the field more.
Well,
he's feisty. They need that.
Yeah. Well, they put Kylan Granson in that role in the final play on the final run of the day, and I'm like, well, why is Granson out there doing this instead of Latu?
Malpractice, coaching malpractice.
There were a handful of plays down the stretch that were where I'm I'm not sure what the goal is with this one.
I especially given this context, I'm happy to get on Nick for a lot of the dumb stuff in this game, especially the end of the half stuff. But I just don't believe there's any chance in the world that he called that play.
No.
Now he sent them out there,
right?
I believe this is a guess. I think he was just trying to draw him offsides again, and that's partially because there's nothing that gets Nick going more inside and outside the studio than trying to draw a defense offsides, because then you get to 4th and 1, then they can go for the tush push. I think that's what the plan was. And then Jaelan saw something that they thought was going to work and catch him by surprise, and they went for it. And I'm sure that he has the leeway to be able to do that if he sees something. But I am putting, given the context of having seen this before, I'm putting that on Jaelan.
But that's a big leap that Nick sends them out there without a play call.
I think it is possible that Nick had a different play call out there.
Yeah,
and
I think
Jalen checked to that. That's probably the more likely.
I would say I
scenario.
think that's what's most likely in that scenario. Like him sending the offense out at all to me is what the mistake is. Like that. Like
and it's and if they're sending him out even with a regular play call, it is only snap the ball if this looks good pre-snap.
Yeah, especially because he didn't mention the possibility of sending the punt unit out after the game, which I think is what we all agree would have been the right decision.
Yes.
So like the fact that he didn't even mention it was bizarre to me. Like I understand people are saying like, oh,
it's because he's lying. It's because he's taking the bullets.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. But it's.
But I'm with you.
Sending the offense out still to me is the mistake.
You know what I want there? Jalen is a student of history. He loves Randall Cunningham. Let Jalen punt the ball. Snap it to him on 4th down. Let him punt it. What's the worst that can happen? It goes in the end zone. That's fine.
Honestly, I would like that. That's a good idea.
That's what's missing from this offense. That wants to be conservative.
Every drive ends in a kick.
Do it on 3rd down.
Why not?
Can we talk about 3rd down?
we can talk about 3rd down. But I know that there's the 3 versus 6 thing, which I actually don't think applied in this situation because there was so little time on the clock. There actually would have been some value.
Explain
getting
that to
6.
What's the 3 versus 6?
Generally, you don't want to go from 3 to 6 in a situation where you are incentivizing the offense to have to go for a touchdown because the history tells us that if they only need a field goal to tie, they will settle for the field goal. But that is more about with like a minute 30 left or real time for them to have a drive. In this scenario, if they had kicked a field goal, it would have been 20 seconds left. It's a Hail Mary anyway. So I think that would have been fine. I don't think they were all on the same page there. All right, what do you want to say about 3rd down?
I mean, you've been all over like the cowards draws and the overall conservative nature of this offense on 3rd down. And I mean, it's crazy, because like when you look at this team, and again, we've talked about this. This is the highest paid offense in football. You have all this money put into this unit where you've got one of the highest paid quarterbacks, one of the highest paid offensive lines, one of the highest paid receiving cores. You have a top 10 tight end, top 8 tight end in terms of APY, in terms of salary. You have all this money. You have all the money in the running back. If this was the defense where it's like, you lose Milton Williams and Josh Sweat and Darius Slay and CJ Gardner-Johnson, you have Nakobe Dean coming off injury, like, you have all these starters that weren't there for the Super Bowl run, and you got to adjust. All right, let's keep this high floor. Let's be conservative. No, you're returning 10 of 11 starters, and again, the highest paid offense in football, to have this conservative mindset week after week after week. And then I'm like, all right, because EJ mentioned like, 3rd down. And I was like, all right, well, I'm just going to chart the 3rd down plays. And so I'm looking at the 3rd down plays. And it's like, all right, you got 16 3rd downs. 8 of those 16 3rd down calls were successful plays. Now, one of them was the QB draw that Hurts fumbles, right? But he ran for a 1st down.
Absolutely.
Yes. Successful play call. So right off the bat, like 50%. So that means you had the other 8 that were unsuccessful. Of those other 8, like 4 of them were straight give up plays.
Yeah.
So it's like, one was an incompletion on a miscommunication, a bad landmark from Jahan Dotson. Like you had your normal like mess ups.
There were a couple weird Jalen throws in this game. That was one of them. Yeah. But
yes, there were a couple where it was like, the guys weren't on the same page, that kind of thing. But like when you have, if you are going to play offense, like if you were going to say like we're going to be a running team and we're going to be conservative, in that way, and we're going to win dirty, we're going to win, and that we're going to just find a way to win. You can't just be like giving up possessions. Like it goes against, like if that's the way you want to play, then you have to be capitalizing on all these opportunities. You can't just be giving possessions away. But they shouldn't be doing this anyway because you've got all this talent. Like I was sitting there last night and I can't believe I'm writing this again. It's the most frustrating thing about the team, I think, honestly.
To me, the perfect encapsulation of this was 2. I think they were back-to-back sets. Maybe it was a little bit separated, but you had the one in the red zone preceding the field goal where it's 3rd and 7.
Yes.
And, oh, boy, here comes another delay of game. Great. You don't call timeout. And on 3rd and 12, at what was it, like the 28 or something like that, when you're very clearly within field goal range.
Yep.
You have the little give up screen to Will Shipley. And it's just that is so weak. When you are in the red zone, you are already in scoring position. Go for the first down. And if you feel like 12 yards is too far for you to go, then waste your time out and go for it on 3rd and 7. Like that doesn't agree with itself. And then I think 2 drives later, or the next drive, is then it's 3rd and 12, backed up, and guess what? It's the exact same distance, and Jalen throws a perfect pass to Devontae Smith, who has a great route on the outside, and it's like, oh yeah, this is how easy it can be. Yep. And so why are you so scared of this? It's like unbelievable.
Well, you had a 3rd and 7. You had a 3rd and long where it's like, all right, if you had just run the coward's draw there, you're off the field and you're punting. But instead, you called a downfield route concept. You had mirrored routes, going across the field, and it wasn't there. Jalen didn't force the issue. He was conservative, did a good job taking care of the ball, and he hit Saquon Barkley on a check down, and 41 yards later, you're 1 play away from scoring a touchdown.
Yeah. Instead
of going coward's draw. It's one, honestly, it is the most frustrating thing. And especially because I'm looking at some of the plays they ran on 3rd down. And I was like, oh, I like that. Oh, that was a good play. Oh, this was a really good Jalen Hurts play. Oh, this was a really good route from Devontae Smith on a 16-yarder. Oh, there's the Saquon play. Then you had the fullback belly out of the pony set.
Fun.
There's some creativity. There's the, but then when you just throw away 4 possessions, it's mind blowing with the talent on this team. Why that's the mindset. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Now, I'm sure, because I'm sure Nick Sirianni and Kevin Patullo will both be asked about this probably tomorrow, and they'll both reference the fact that, when you're in 3rd and long situations like that, it's really hard, especially. And I saw Devontae Smith said after the game, the Packers are in a lot of soft zone coverages. It's hard to take shots downfield against those. But honestly, especially considering the Eagles are, at least the last I checked, dead last in 3-and-out percentage in the NFL, you don't have the luxury. They're not. We talked about they're not a success rate team right now. They're not a team that stays on schedule. They don't have the luxury of being like, every time we're behind the sticks, we can't take shots downfield.
26 in the NFL in offensive success rate over the course of the season right now.
So being in 3rd and long situations with the talent that you have on the perimeter and the way that you've played this season, it's not a good enough excuse anymore.
And we can continue this conversation, EJ, in overtime. It's crazy. It's crazy. And you're also right, Fran, that the long Saquon catch and run is another good example of it, because it's like, you know what, just try something. And you might luck into it because your players are just that good. It's also a waste. You know what it is? It is also a waste. This staff loves to talk about how much time they put in during the week, just grinding and sleeping in the office. It's a waste of your time. Didn't it's 3rd and 11, so we're just gonna give up. We're not even gonna use a play from our playbook. It's like, what are we doing?
Because that's not we're being a dead horse, but it's to me, again, it goes, especially seeing the Doug Peterson 3rd down offense, where it was like, hey, we're just gonna go for it. We're gonna be aggressive. We're gonna to live that way. And it goes to the Dan Campbell Lions, and it's like, hey, we're gonna be aggressive because we have belief in our players, we have belief in our talent. To me, you are sending this message, we'll figure it out later. We're just playing not to lose. I just don't agree with that mindset.
And a fair point from Pat Phoenix in the super chat, who says the other side of this is they're in 3rd and long too often.
Right.
Too many 1st and 2nd down conservative play calls, which is absolutely true.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
The thing is, though, it's not. I don't necessarily always look at it as it's conservative play calls. Now, some of them it's less than ideal outcomes. And that goes to the success rate. The fact that this is the number 1 most expensive offense in the NFL has the 26th ranked success rate. But the play callers let's some aggressive plays yesterday that weren't taken advantage of for one reason or another. Maybe pressure got it. There was let's go to one more shot. We actually didn't do this one. Lindsay, let's go to Wheel. That's the last one here. So you're in the high red zone. You're in the fringe area here, and you can see it's a condensed set, 11 personnel, and the Eagles are running a play to attack the Packers in zone coverage. And this is going to be a post wheel route where you've got Calcaterra at the bottom of the screen. He's going to run a vertical route down the field, and then you're running Saquon Barkley on a wheel against the Green Bay linebackers. Remember, he scored on a wheel route last year in Week 1 in Brazil. It wasn't the same play, but a similar type of design here. So, Lindsay, if you go to the next shot, you can see that Saquon releases up to the second level. He's going to be one-on-one with the linebacker. Calcaterra releases, like, plenty of green space out that way. Now, I think the linebacker, Adrian Cooper, he actually did a really good job here on this play, and he kept up with Saquon. So this throw was not a clear, like, green light for Jalen Hurts to be able to cut this one loose. Now, that said, the second read on this play is a shallow cross coming from the other side where you had a 3-by-1 set over there. You had a tight bunch set, and the shallow cross is coming from A.J. Brown. This was the third snap of the game where you got man-to-man coverage from the Packers. Like this was in the second half. This was it. So they'd been playing heavy zone coverage. So you finally get man-to-man. You call a concept that should be good against man. And as I'm watching it from this angle, you can kind of see that the defensive tackle that's right on the hash mark there, working up against Brett Toth, is getting ready to cross face and to flash color in front of Jalen's eyes. And I'm like, oh, the pressure gets to him. But Lindsay, if you go to the next shot here. AJ is wide open in the middle of the field. He is he's the second read. Like, if you're, to me, like, it's the post is that's the eye candy, right? Like that's the vertical stretch element. You're trying to get the wheel route. If the wheel route's taken away, the second read, like with your eyes, if you're working from right to left, would be to the middle of the field route. That's AJ Brown, who is wide open. It's essentially it's like a rub play over on that side where the corner over AJ Brown gets picked off by the action on the inside. AJ is wide open. Jalen's taken off. I think that he left a little bit early. And again, this is not this was an egregi's miss by Jalen Hurts. This is like I really would like you to make this play. If we're going to talk about Jalen's a top 5 quarterback, right? Like that's a play that AJ Brown, if he's upset on this one, he should be. He should have gotten this ball. And honestly, he probably scores on this one.
So, Fran, I want you to tell me if you agree with the sentiment, because in my notes, I kind of got dramatic here. I wrote pulling my hair out because this is a few plays before Jalen misses on the Calcaterra throw down the seam. So it's like, to me, like the first half, a lot of what was frustrating about watching the Eagles passing game is that it just didn't seem like they had very many answers for what the Packers were doing in the secondary. Like, they just didn't seem like there was a lot of openings. It didn't seem like they had good design against it. And then it seemed like in the second half, at the beginning of the second half, it's like, all right, they drew some things up. They got some guys open. And then it was Jalen like missing on 2 or 3 key throws that kind of just tanked the whole thing. So for me, like, this was probably the most frustrating part about it, because it's like, okay, they finally figured it out. And now Jalen is like kind of the one holding it back from finally getting into gear.
I honestly felt that even in the first half, there was the first 3rd and long where he broke out of the pocket and he had Will Shipley on the run. Like that was a nice throw. Mm-hmm. Obviously, the throw to Devontae Smith for touchdowns. It was a good ball. There were some good throws throughout the course of the night. And I'm not saying it wasn't that Jalen was bad, but it wasn't like a good Jalen performance. Crisp. And I wouldn't say that it was like even like a solid performance by his standards. I would say that this was like a suboptimal performance for him. And a lot of it would be like, hey, like why did you go to this side instead of that side, right? Like how come you're throwing this? There are times where they're running mirrored routes. You're running like a corner route with a flat route to both sides. And again, going back to like them playing cover 6, and it's like, all right, you're running this concept to the cover 2 side. AJ Brown's wide open in the turkey hole, right? Like to me, like if you know that they're going to be running cover 6 and they're going to be running cover 2 to this side, like why is the ball going there and not over there? So it was one of those where it's not like, oh man, like Jalen was terrible, and it wasn't. I didn't have that feeling watching it this morning, but it was more just like, all right, like I had more questions than I had like definitive answers walking away from the film.
He was also like uncharacteristically inaccurate a couple times.
That's definitely part of it. Yeah,
I mean, there was the throw he never makes, which was almost picked off, which was like shocking that he made, which was rolling to his right, throwing to his left, which was completed, and I like,
yep.
He never makes that throw.
The end zone angle on that throw is really tough. Like, because I posted it because Cam Latu had a nice block on Micah Parsons there. And, like, the byproduct is like you see the end zone angle of that throw, and it's like, oh my god, like what was he thinking?
Even the big Saquon play was like he almost dirted that ball. It felt like, I don't know if his arm strength wasn't all the way there last night, but it was an uncharacteristic performance, I think it's fair to say.
Why does this team, whenever there's a slick surface, like they can't get like the cleats right?
You tell me.
I don't know.
It's wild.
There was like the second or third drive of the game, and Claire pointed out in the chat. That's why because that was one thing I wrote down watching the game last night, and also the other thing about the offense that I texted you guys about this morning. Like, don't let me off the hook. Don't let me finish talking about the offense without bringing this up. I think they are so worried about being predictable that they like set themselves back by trying to be unpredictable. And I think the biggest, the number one thing that I point to with that assertion is looking at the run game. We talk about like, okay, good example. We talked about the play last night, and everyone's seen it now on social media, like Moro Jomo pointing out like, oh, inside zone this way. All right, like they're lined up in the shotgun. The running back is offset to the right. Almost always, it's going to be a run to the left. It's going to be inside zone because just the flow of the play is going to carry that way. The running back is going to work opposite of his initial alignment. So the Eagles know this. They've had issues in the past. Like you go back to like the Chip Kelly years, like they were extremely predictable from that look.
We heard early this season that defenses were calling out their plays pre-snap.
Right, and so what they have done, and I think they're going too far the other way. Is they are running more of these same side plays where it's like you're lining up in the shotgun, and let's say the running back is to the right. It's going to be a run to the right. The problem with those plays is that you have awkward footwork and like QB to running back mechanics in terms of like the handoff, and they are slower developing plays, which allows the defense to, and when you have a fast defense like the Packers have, like they've got fast players at the second level. They've got you've got Micah Parsons, you've got guys that have twitch that can win up front. You are inviting guys to be able to get into the backfield at a faster rate. And so, they had a number of like those same side runs in the first half. They did it especially in the first half last night where it's just like, man, like they do this so often. And I think it's with the sole purpose of we don't want to be predictable. And it's like, to me, if you have an offensive line that can't manhandle people, that's okay. But if you have an offensive line that is capable, where you have Mailata and Dickerson, who's healthy now, and you have these guys, and you're like, yeah, like we got Lane Johnson, you got even like Fred Johnson. Like this is one of the best things he does is like I'm gonna mash the guy in front of him. I'm gonna push this guy forward. Like to me, like you don't need to worry about that as much. They're so worried about it that I think that there are, I don't want to say wasted plays, but you have a number of them. Like, man, like just be normal. Just run inside zone. Just run duo or get under center. And if you want to be less predictable, go under center or run out of the pistol more often, which they're doing. But like then they get into the gun and they're like, all right, well then you don't need to do this as much because you're doing the stuff from under center into the pistol. Like open it up a little bit more from the shotgun.
Get under center. Get Willie Lampkin in the game. Get Cam Latu in the game. Just give the people what they want.
I mean, if they let Willie Lampkin do that, it's going to be the last you ever heard of Cam Latu.
Oh no, yeah, they can coexist.
To this point, a super chat from Polar Jam who says, "What was the under center percentage in this game?" And I can tell you, it was 35% according to True Media, which was the third highest usage of under center for the Eagles this season, behind the two previous games with the Giants game at the top.
I don't want to steal Dana's thunder for when he comes on the show later on in the week, but that was one thing he texted me. He's worried that they're doing too much of the heavy personnel under center stuff. Is that like in terms of like, I don't need to see Grant Calcaterra and Kylan Granson out there in place of AJ Brown. Are you guys feeling that way, or like where do you guys sit on that right now?
I think it's a good point. Like when you push back on my idea that this could be like a heavy personnel team going into the year, it's fair. Like their best personnel is probably 11 personnel, but they've been more productive out of 12, which is why I think they're leading into it. 12, yeah. So yeah.
It plays into the same thing, which is that it is rare that we see them this season change what their game plan seemed to be midway through the game. Right. They came in thinking this was going to be a big, heavy personnel under center game. And despite the fact that it was their worst performance on offense all season long, they kept, bashing their head against the wall. Like I would just like to see them be more willing to change up in the middle of a game.
So I have a question for you about this, Fran. So do you think that the way the offense looked against the Packers is more about like a styles makes fights type of scenario where like the Packers are a zone heavy team and they're obviously a very athletic front that can present the Eagles very specific problems, like, or do you think this is something that can linger into a game like against the Lions, who are a more man heavy team? Because to me, I do wonder if it's like this Packers defense is like kind of equipped. What they major in does give the Eagles a lot of trouble.
I'd love to say that it was a one-off thing and this was a matchup thing, but this one game didn't make them 26th in success rate or like one of the worst third down teams in football, right? Like I think that these are issues that we've seen throughout the course of the season, and I would expect them to continue. To be honest, now to me that I think they will have more success against certain defenses that they face. And you might make the point that Detroit is a little bit more aggressive and they'll play a little bit more man to man, so that's going to dictate a little bit of a different game plan. But I don't know if you lose Lane Johnson in the first half and now all of a sudden you want to be a little bit more conservative. But I don't know, man. Like you have so much talent on that side of the ball.
Yeah.
Not to completely go back down that path, but it's a frustrating unit to watch.
All right, a few more super chats before we get out of here. Salute to Jocko, says the fourth down throw to AJ was one thing, but please tell me, why did they run it up the middle 3 times in a row before? So inconsistent.
Yeah, that's why it doesn't make sense. So you get into like the Occam's razor is like, all right, that wasn't called from the sideline.
Conservative the whole game, and then extremely aggressive the one time the analytics would probably tell you not to be aggressive.
Speaking of which, given the Sirianni news you shared with us earlier, Fran, which NFL head coach do you think is most upset about that news?
Give me a second. Going through the Rolodex.
Mm-hmm. It's tough. A lot of contenders, no doubt.
A lot of contenders there.
I think I'm going John Harbaugh.
Yeah, I think that's right. I was leaning towards another former Eagles assistant.
Interesting.
McDermott, yeah.
No, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Peter McCarthy with a final super chat says, is Brett Toth an upgrade on Juergens?
Not a healthy Juergens, no. I thought Toth was fine last night. It was not as good of a game as he was against the Giants.
All right. That'll do it for this portion of the PHLY Eagles podcast. But thank you to Lindsay for saving us just under the horn, because I forgot we have a Brandon Graham interview to play for you from this morning. Brandon Graham, I arrived at the office this morning at 7 a.m. after leaving the office at 2:30. And I get there, and BG is there sleeping in his car, which we talked about in last week's episode. He loves a car nap. The man landed on the tarmac, made it over. That's how dedicated he is to the good people who watch Unblocked. So check out this conversation with BG. Thank you, Fran. Thank you, EJ. Everybody, we will talk to you tomorrow at 2 o'clock. It's Amina Kimes Day. We look forward to that. But until then, enjoy Brandon Graham, and then we'll see you tomorrow.
Welcome back to the PHLY Eagles podcast. Who do we have? Brandon Graham from the set of Unblocked. And we are, I would say, minutes after you landed in Philadelphia. So if you think this is the yawning segment in the past, this is next level here. What dedication from you to get here this morning, BG.
Yeah, man, you gotta do what you say you're gonna do. And so, I'm glad we got the win because that makes it better.
Oh, man, this would have sucked if you guys had lost that game.
Definitely.
Oh, God.
Definitely. So sleeping through it a little bit is like my bad. But
that would have been brutal. I got to ask you tough questions. You're falling asleep. Oh, my God.
That would have been bad.
What was the most impressive part about that defensive performance to you?
I think it was just everybody played a part in it. Everybody made plays. And it was cool to see Jaelan Phillips come in and make a big play like that in the end. And, he had a good game all game. So it was just good to see like some of the new additions is holding their end of the bargain.
There's got to be kind of a weird thing for him where he feels like, he's the new guy coming from a bad team to the defending Super Bowl champions. He's got to feel like he probably needs to prove himself to his teammates.
Oh, for sure. But he ain't got to do too much other than because we seen your film. We see exactly what you are and who you are, and all you got to do is just keep getting better.
What was he like in the week leading up, as you got to know him in the meeting room and stuff like that?
He was pretty chill, open to hear how we do things around here, and talked about Miami a little bit and how they did stuff around there. I mean, it seemed like they had a good culture down there too. It was just more about just sometimes you just losing, and it's tough. So
I have a theory that it's very difficult for an NFL team to have sustained success in Miami, just because of everything that goes with like being a young professional football player living in Miami.
Yeah, it tests you for sure. First, like if that's your first time, or first, like really your first time living there because you're playing there. And so I'm sure during the off season you ain't trying to go home, because if you can just pay for your spot there, that's a good spot to be at while training.
Yeah, that's my theory. We'll see if it gets proven wrong at some point. But in terms of Jaelan Phillips and the week leading in, like did he tell you anything about how he was feeling? Did you hear him say that getting traded to the Eagles was probably the best thing that's ever happened in his life? Yeah,
we talked about that because the Dolphins tried to make it, or they took a clip of it and tried to make it seem like he throwing a shot at the Dolphins. And I know we talked about that, but he really wasn't. He was just saying that he excited to be on the winning team. You get traded, you don't know who you gonna end up with, and to come here and to know what they're dealing with as Dolphins, even though they just won this last game, they dealing with a lot of stuff that he might have not approved, but he's happy that he's here with us because we've been to the promised land and won last year, and then we got a shot to do it again this year.
What's your Jaelan Phillips moment? What's the greatest thing that's happened to you in your life?
Greatest thing in football?
Could be. Doesn't have to be.
I mean, greatest thing is my kids being born.
There we go.
That's the greatest thing. But it's really cool to see just how well he fit in our room.
And then how about you? Getting those snaps, getting back out there. I know you were on a pitch count. How did you feel being on the field?
I felt good, a little nervous, just more like.
What made you nervous?
Because, you want to have a good showing. You want to have a good outing. Of course, it ain't going to be perfect, and it was far from perfect. But I feel like it'll get better and better as I continue to keep grinding.
That TFL. We almost had it.
I know, almost had it.
But you blew up the play.
I know, but it's like, for me, just
did your eyes get big? You're like,
you just want to make a play.
Yeah.
And for him to just fall right up off me, it's like, oh man, come on, B, you got to get that. But it was cool though. I was happy to cut him off, and that's really what you wanted. He didn't get outside of me, and Reed and all them was right there.
I mean, that's classic. That's classic BG. It's like keeping the backside there. What did the guys say to you after that play?
Just was, we always just patting each other, on the back, and then we end up, it's really next play mentality.
All right. I mean, we're not gonna keep you too long here, but you had the flight home. Tell people like what the flight is like.
Yeah. So
and like as you get, you're getting some sleep, but you're a little bit cramped back there.
So yeah, I mean, this time around we got first class seats. Normally, it's the coaches up there, so we be in the back. We make do with the rows that we do have.
So why did you guys get first class this time? Because that's usually, for the people who pay attention, that's usually why like the Eagles don't get good grades on travel, because it's usually coaches in first class.
Yeah, and it's just, I mean, I think coaches doing a better job of it because they don't want to have a bad grade and that. And then on top of that, I think he's, especially the longer plane rides, he wants us to be able to be comfortable. So I got to give him credit.
Short week, maybe part of it. Who knows?
Yeah, but
not everybody can sit in first class. So who gets to sit in first class?
Just most of the starters and people that's got seniority.
Okay,
I would say. And
were you first class on the way out? Probably not.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you were?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. So maybe things are changing.
On the way out, then like if you on the way out, then you definitely coming home on the same seat.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's just if you don't have it in the beginning, nah.
Who was your seatmate?
Nah, you don't have. Well, for me, I don't have one. So it's like that playing. It's like the three on the outside,
Yeah.
and then the 4 in the middle.
Okay.
So it's 2 in the middle. You know, if you got somebody with you, 2 in the
Okay.
middle, then you get like it depends on vets or
Okay.
because sometimes you got 2 guys in those 3 seats.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
one on by the window and one
Okay.
in the middle be open. But for me, I got that whole
You get the whole
Whole
3 to
three.
yourself?
whole 3 when we in the back. But,
Okay.
But when we got in the first class, we get in the pod. So
Oh,
I
you're
had
in the
my own
pod.
Mhm.
Oh, that
Yep.
changes everything. What a great deal.
I know. That's what I'm saying. And then
You wish that
know,
flight was longer because you
you-
could have slept more.
Trust me. And then the crazy part is, you know, when we don't get first class and then we got to walk through first to get off the plane. It's like, man, look at y'all. You know, but it'd be cool though. It's all
I didn't
good.
even think about the pods. The pods are great.
I know they nice. They feel good.
Is it big enough for you guys?
Oh yeah,
the pods?
Yeah. Well, I mean, for me, yeah. And I'm 6'1", but
I mean, Jaelan Phillips maybe or Jordan Davis.
I would say like Fred and all them probably be scrunched up.
Poor Fred.
long legs, and I mean it's just part of.
Hey, that reminds me. The one thing that I didn't ask about on the show today, Lane Johnson, doing what he did, he suffers an ankle injury, and then comes back like late in the game. That was nuts. What'd you think of that?
That just show you Lane. Show you who Lane is as a player. He just don't want you to feel like he quit on y'all. You know, and if he can play, he gonna play. And I mean, I know that about him.
But to do that, you know, I could have understood him coming out at halftime, right? Let's say he gets shot up at halftime and there's more adrenaline. But to have been like sitting on the bench for most of the second half and then come in, like that's crazy to me.
It is, but that's Lane. And that's why I love it because he is crazy, but in a good way.
The other thing we talked about on the postgame show, I mean, Lane is so cool. That beard is getting out of hand.
It's getting there. But I don't know where he going with it, but he is. It is kind of like just spread it. Like it's like if you messing with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, he might be on this Kelsey.
He might be on his Kelsey. Last thing, the cleat situation, because a bunch of guys were slipping in the first half. What did you like? Did you have to tell them like you got to wear the studs when you're in Lambeau?
They told us to wear the 7-inch studs, and some people listened, some didn't. I didn't really have too much traction problems, but some people did.
Did you go studs?
No, I just had my molds on.
Okay.
Yeah, not the studs. Because I really felt like in pregame I really wasn't slipping, so I felt good about it.
And why would guys not want to, like, why do you not go studs? Is it like you feel a little bit more stuck? How does that?
You know what?
Or is it more of a look thing?
No, I didn't even look, but it's just, I don't know. I just feel like the molds is good too. Molds is good too. It's just not as deep as the 7-inch studs to kind of dig in to where if the surface is slick, you know, to help you dig under that.
All right. Good stuff. Check out this week's Unblocked. A really, really good indication of just how hard and how dedicated BG is to this podcast. Check that out. And just keep everything going on PHLY. Thanks for watching. Back with more here on the PHLY Eagles podcast.
We all silly like the mayor.